energy in warfare with a historical context. We're going to start off with spears, bows and arrows, go on to the trebuchet, catapult type machines, artillery with cannon, the atom bomb and the hydrogen bomb. I'm going to start off here with some ancient artwork on the side of a cave in Lascaux in France 20,000 years ago. But hominids have been using wooden spears in Africa for 400,000 years. And 200,000 years ago, there's evidence of using flaked stone heads as the spearhead. And there's artwork from Greece and from Sumeria, and also bronze spearheads. And this will be about 100 joules and kinetic energy of moving the arm backwards and releasing the kinetic energy into the spear. And again, about the same amount of energy with a bow and an arrow. This time you're drawing the string back, so you've got some elastic kinetic energy here held as potential energy and released. So again, some rock carvings, some ancient Egyptian art, and a 16th century crossbow. Then going on to projectile machines, we've got a trebuchet, which is a type of catapult, and you're using energy to have the counterweight and the beam to move the counterweight, and then as it's released, the projectile is flung out, and this time 10,000 joules for the energy of the trebuchet. And going on to gunpowder weapons as a chemical projectile, or moving the projectile. So Dazu rock carvings, some of the first ways of seeing a bombard, a handheld one in this case. And the bombards were strips of metal held together with rings. They started putting it around a wooden core and then burnt away the wood, and that would tighten all the metal together. And the Mons Meg there with 175 kilogram cannonballs. Then we're going to look at the gunpowder, charcoal, brimstone, saltpeter, carbon, sulfur, potassium nitrate. Carbon and sulfur are the fuels, and the potassium nitrate is the oxidizer. And here's one of the possible reactions, the equations for it, but particularly note the gases that are produced. Any reaction that produces gases, and particularly quickly, will be explosive. And here we've got a World War I massive cannon, the Paris gun, and we've got 100 million joules, and again the gunpowder part, chemical energy to kinetic energy. The shell only had 7 kilograms equivalent of the explosive, the TNT, but required about 250 kilograms of gunpowder to project it up into the atmosphere, stratosphere, and it would travel over 80 miles, 130 kilometers. And then World War II, August 1945, you've got the little boy bomb, a uranium type bomb. At Nagasaki, you've got a plutonium weapon, both airburst, equivalent of 10 kilotons of TNT, 10 to the 14 joules. And then beyond that, a SAR bomb, 10 to the 17 joules, 50 megatons of TNT. When this was exploded, islands far north of Russia, window panes were broken up to 900 kilometers over 500 miles away, and it was detonated 4 kilometers above the ground. So looking at summary, how can you describe what the energy changes are? First, we'll look at them numerically and the number of joules. You can see them increasing quite phenomenally as we go through the historical periods here. And if you look at the exponents, if they're all put powers of 10, you can see that it's increasing at quite a rate on a logarithmic scale. And then what types of energy are changed here? So be able to describe those and how the projectile gains its kinetic energy to do the damage. Nuclear fission for the atom bomb, nuclear fusion for the SAR bomb. And here we have just a narrative, and you can pause this one to read the detail. And then a summary of each of them. In particular, as you go through them, you can see the time period that's there, and you can see on the right-hand column the energy that's involved. And worth looking at, history of weaponry timeline with New Scientist. And many thanks to WIS Teen Science, Physics 2 class, and Mr. Godwin in particular.